Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, write a Java program for printing a Pascal triangle. Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. First of all, what is a Pascal triangle? Each number in the triangle is a sum of the two numbers directly above each. For example, let's take this as a Pascal triangle. If you see this, how many rows are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows are there. Okay. Total 6 rows are there in this Pascal triangle. And in the first row, only number 1 is there. All the borders will be 1 only, guys. Okay. You see in the first row, only one number will be there. And that particular number will be only 1. Okay, in the second row, okay, there will be two numbers, but since they are border numbers, they will be one only. And in the third row, there are three numbers. In the third row, there are three numbers. Okay, the first number will be the border number, so it will be 1. And the second number will be the calculation of the above two numbers. 1 plus 1, it will become 2. And the last number is a border number, it will be 1. In the fourth row, the border number, the first number is a border number, and it is 1. And the second number, total four numbers will be there here in the fourth row. In the first number will be the border number and the last number will be the border number. Second and third number are nothing but the calculation of the above two numbers. That is here above 3, what is there? 1 plus 2. 1 plus 2, 3. This 2 plus 1 is 3, like that. Okay. In the fifth row, total 5 numbers will be there. The border numbers will be 1 and 1 only. And in between the numbers, 3 numbers between that are there, right? They are nothing but the calculation of the above numbers. That is 1 plus 3 is 4. 3 plus 3 is 6. 3 plus 1 is 4, like that. Okay. In the sixth row, we have total 6 numbers. The border numbers, first number and sixth number are 1. And whereas the middle 4 numbers are nothing but the addition of the above two numbers. For example, here 1 plus 4 is 5. 4 plus 6 is 10. 6 plus 4 is 10. 4 plus 1 is 5, like that. Okay. So this is what is a Pascal triangle. If you have to print this Pascal triangle, what is the programming logic you have to write? I'm going to demonstrate that for you. Hope you understood what is a Pascal triangle now. How does it look like and what exactly it is. Now we have to print this kind of Pascal triangle by writing a Java program. You may get this kind of question in the interviews asking you to write this or print this Pascal triangle. So fine, we'll go to the Eclipse ID and create a new class, guys. I'll just create a new class. I'll just name this class as some random name like class 2. Here main method got created. I'll create one more method. That method you can call, okay, by passing the number of rows and it should print the Pascal triangle. Public static void print Pascal triangle. Okay, Pascal triangle. Print Pascal triangle. Spelling mistake is there. I'm just correcting that. Print Pascal triangle. You can give any name. Print. When you call this particular method, I need to call from the main method, and this particular method should print the Pascal triangle. But this particular method should receive the number of rows as an input. How many rows you want the triangle to be printed? Here in this example, there are 6 rows. What if you want 5 rows or 4 rows or 7 rows or 8 rows? That number of rows you have to pass. When calling this method, you have to pass the number of rows. So I'll call this particular method, guys. I'll call this particular method using the method calling statement. For now, I'll pass 5 rows. Okay. I'm passing the number of rows as 5. By taking the number of rows, we have to write the logic here to print this kind of Pascal triangle having the 5 rows. Okay. So how to write this logic? So first of all, you have to create an integer array, 2-dimensional integer array, new int of, here we have to give rows, and here also we have to give rows. Okay. Number of columns is equal to only one column. In the first row, how many columns should be there? In the first row, how many columns are there? 1. The second row, how many columns are there? 2. In the third row, how many columns are there? 3. The fourth row, how many values or columns are there? 4. So here, number of columns is equal to number of rows. That's why in place of the columns also, whatever the row number, that 5 I gave, right? Here 5, 5. That is the size I'm creating. In the first row, there is only one value can be stored. The second row, 2 values can be stored, equal to the number of rows, guys. Okay, if it is in the first row, only one column will be there. The second row, 2 columns will be there. In the third row, 3 columns or 3 values will be there. That's why the number of rows and number of columns is also equal to number of rows here. With this particular size, we are creating this particular array. Now we have to write the logic, guys. For int I is equal to 0, I less than I is equal to 0, I less than rows, I'll say I plus plus, I'll say guys, okay, I plus plus, I'll say for int I is equal to 0, I less than rows, I plus plus. What will happen here guys? For int I is equal to 0, I less than rows, I plus plus, what will happen? The number of rows, it should start from the indexing concept in arrays will start with the index 0, right? That's why I have to give the value of I as 0, okay? And less than rows. 0 less than rows means if I am giving 5 means from 0 to 4. That means 0 to 5 is nothing but 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is total 5 rows, guys. This particular for loop will iterate 5 rows, okay? Now inside this, I'll create one more inner for loop. I'll write the logic like this. For int j is equal to 0, j less than or equal to I, I'll say j plus plus. Why I'm writing j less than or equal to I, I'm going to explain. So in the first row, when I value is 0, okay, in the first row when the value of I is 0, okay, this is the first row when the value of I is 0 is the first row. Here j is equal to 0, 0 less than or equal to 0, okay, and this particular iteration should happen only one time because only one element will be there. So here j also will be 0, 0 less than or equal to 0 will be true, will go inside the for loop, and here we'll print out if, we'll write the logic here. Carefully observe guys, the border elements, you see the border elements are 1, whether it may be starting elements or the ending elements are 1, okay. In this Pascal triangle the border elements are 1, right? The starting elements and ending elements are 1, no matter how many elements are there in this particular rows. Here only 1 is there, only starting and ending is 1 only. Here 2 are there, starting is 1, ending is 1. Here 3 are there, starting is 1, ending is 1. Here 4 are there, first one is 1, fourth one is 1, last element. First element is 1, last element is 1. First element is 1, last element is 1. To make that happen, I have to write the logic like this. If that is a first element, if j equal to double equal to 0, if j is equal to 0 means that's the first column. Here j stands for column guys, I stands for row, j stands for column, let's assume that, okay. First column is 0. If the first column is 0, okay, if the first column is 0, right, that's the in the first row, first column is 0, that means it's the first column basically, okay. Or if it is the last column, when can we say it's the last column? When j becomes I, it's the last column. J double equal to I. In the first row only one element can be there, in the second row 2 elements, okay. That means this iteration column should go up to only value of I, okay. In the first row only one value will be there, so maximum number of columns can be I only, 0 to I, less than or equal to I, okay. The number of iterations this particular for loop should iterate is for every column, for every row, that many number of columns will be there, okay. In the first row 1 column will be there, in second row 2 columns will be there. That's why I gave the logic like this. In the second row I will be 1, j is equal to 0, j less than or equal to 1, 0 less than, and that means 0 and 1, 2 iterations. The for loop will go with 2 iterations in the second row. In the third iteration, this for loop will go, inner for loop will go 3 columns. In the fourth iteration, inner for loop will go 4 columns, okay, like that and so on, okay. Depends on number of columns. If the value of j is equal to 0 or j is equal to 1, that means these are the border elements, first element and last element that we can assume. In that case, the value of that particular variable should be what? The value of that particular array should be what? Int of I j is equal to 1. The border element should be 1. So I'm giving the logic like this. Else I'll write down. Else, if it is not the border elements, then we have to be careful. Okay, then we have to be careful. We have to give the elements AR of ij here also. Else if it is not border elements, then we have to calculate like this, AR of I minus 1. Why I'm saying AR of I minus 1 here? I'll tell you. Okay. For example, you take this particular number 3 here. The fourth row, 3 number you take. Okay. So this is nothing but I is equal to 0, I is equal to 1, I is equal to 2, I is equal to 3. When I is equal to 3, when I is equal to 3, what we are doing, guys? That is when I is equal to 3, here I am writing AR of I minus 1. That is 3 minus 1 means 2. Okay. Here I is equal to 3. I'm going to 2 here. Okay. By writing like this, I'm going to 2. And here I'm going to write j minus 1 also. Okay. J minus 1 also. Why I'm writing j minus 1? Because I want to get this value 1, guys. Okay. For getting this particular 3 here, for getting this particular number 3 here, I want to get this 1. That's why I have to reduce the value of I, row number by 1, and this column is second column. I want to go to the first column. Okay, I want to go to the first column. So I'll give I j minus 1. Okay, plus I'll write AR of again I minus 1, again the previous row only, again the previous row only. This time I want the second column only. That's why I'll not write j minus 1, I'll write j here. If I write like this, how this 3 will be coming? When I is 0, 1, 2, 3, I minus 1 will become 2 here. Here of that means second row. Sorry, if this is fourth row, we'll go to third row. In the third row, we want to get the first element, that is I minus 1, j minus 1, sorry. If this particular thing is j is equal to 0, 1, then j minus 1 is 0. So 0 will be taken, 1 will be taken, and in the other part here of I minus 1 is this third row only. In that, j means what? Here j is equal to 1, here j is equal to 1 is nothing but 2. 1 plus 2 is how much? 3. 3 will be created here. 3 will be created. This is how we have to write this particular logic, guys. You see, we already know that each number in the Pascal triangle is the sum of the two numbers directly above it. Here, for how 3 is coming in this fourth row, in the second column, which is a combination of the above two numbers. To get this addition happening, we have to write this kind of logic, guys. Try to evaluate this logic. If you are able to understand, we have to go to the previous row. In that previous row, the current column number minus 1, current column number. Okay, current column number minus 1 and current column. So these two values will be added, and the resultant value 3 will be stored into the this particular position. That's what we are trying to do. This is what we generally do, guys. This is a logic. Now let's print it out. Let's print it out, guys. Let's print out this array. System.out.println. System.i.println. Instead of println, I'll print this. Okay. In the inner for loop, we'll get the value of this AR of ij, right? I'll just write like this. And when I print like this, what is happening? Let's see. All the values will be printed in a single line, guys. All the values will be printed in a single line. You see, are you getting a Pascal triangle? No. So what I have to do is, after printing this one here, I want to give a space, guys. I want to give a space. I'll just give a space like this. Run this code again. Right click, run as Java application. Here one will come, and then space will come. Again one will come, again space will come, again one will come, space will come, 1, 2, 1. Like this is coming. That's but okay. But after the columns are completed in every row, before going to the next row, I want to go to the new line. Okay, this will make the difference, guys. Okay, by writing println statement here. Now you see, you'll get a near format of Pascal triangle here. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1. You see, 1 plus 1 is 2. Borders are 1. Okay, 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 1 is 3, border is 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, 3 plus 3 is 6, 3 plus 1 is 4, border is 1. Like that. How many columns, how many things you give here? Just give 6 here. For example, if you write 6 here, run this code, 6 rows will come. 6 rows. You'll get a bigger Pascal triangle. Okay, you see, 1 plus 4 is 5, 4 plus 6 is 10, 6 plus 4 is 10, 4 plus 1 is 5, and the border is 1. Okay, like this, guys. Okay, but I want some leading spaces, guys. How many leading spaces I want? The first row, I want total number of rows are how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here I want 5 leading spaces. Okay, so that this will, if this particular number has to come into middle like this. Okay, you see here in this Pascal triangle, you can see that, right? 1 is in the center. It's not on the left side. I want to make that happen. So I should not be printing like this. So for that to happen, I'll remove this print statements, guys. I don't want to print the Pascal triangle like this. Okay. What I want to do here is, in order to get the printing done properly, in order to make the printing done properly, after these particular elements are stored into the array, okay, after these particular elements are stored into the array as per the Pascal format, I'll create one more array for int I is equal to 0. Again, I less than, for getting the leading spaces here and for organizing these numbers in a proper Pascal triangle format. Okay, this is left aligned. I want it center aligned. Okay, exactly this way I want the output to be. Okay, that's the reason I'm writing this for getting the leading spaces. I'm writing this code instead of printing using this for loop. I'm getting something like this: I less than rows I plus plus for int j. Instead of j, I'll say k is equal to 0, k less than you see, if the number of rows are 5, how many leading spaces I want in the first row. If the number of spaces are, if the number of rows are 5, or if the number of rows are 6, how many leading spaces I want in the first row? I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If the number of rows are 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, here number of leading spaces should be 5. Okay. For that to happen, I'll write the logic like this. For k is equal to 0, k less than rows minus I minus 1. Current value of I is 0. Rows is 5. 5 minus I is how much? 0. Minus 1 is how much? 5. Rows is, how many I'm passing here? Rows is 6. 6 minus 0 minus 1. 5 row. 5. Okay. 5 leading spaces I want. Okay. For printing the leading spaces, before printing this value 1, I'm writing this logic here, guys. Now system.out.println, instead of println, I'm writing the normal print statement, guys, because we should not go to the new line after printing the space here. How many spaces will be printed, guys? Total 5 spaces will be printed. Okay. When I is equal to 0, here, when I is equal to 0, in the first row, when I is equal to 0 in the first row, depending on the number of rows, 6 minus 1, that is total 5. Total 5 spaces will be printed in the first row. Only one column will be there, but 5 leading spaces will be there. We don't have to worry about the trailing spaces. You see, before this one, before in the first row, before this one, 5 leading spaces should come. 5 space, 1 should come. Okay, that's my intention in the first row. Okay, in the second row, 4 leading spaces should come. In the third row, 3 leading spaces. The fourth row, 2 leading spaces. Fifth row, 1 leading space. Sixth row, 0 leading spaces. That's what is my intention. Okay. Now I'll write the logic like this. Okay. Now I'll write the logic right. After writing like this, I'll write for int j is equal to 0. Same logic you have to write, guys. Same logic you have to write. J is equal to 0. J less than or equal to I. J plus plus. Write the logic here. J is equal to 0, j less. Okay. Now write down system.out.println AR of. Here we don't have to write if else blocks. Already the values are stored, guys. Okay. In the previous for loop, the values are already stored. Here you don't have to write if else blocks and all. Normal for loop, we have to iterate through the array. Okay. For that normal print statement, I'll write after the spaces in the same line, AR of ij will be printed. AR of ij will be printed, and after the ij, one space will be given. Okay. Just for the sake, because between the element spaces should be there. At the end of this for loop, at the end of this inner for loop, println statement will be there, so that for every row we'll go to the new line. By writing this extra logic, instead of printing the Pascal triangle in this format, we can add some leading spaces so that Pascal triangle looks similar to whatever I have displayed here. Okay. Run this code now. With this logic, it should work. Hopefully it should work, guys. Run this code and see whether you see 1, 1, 1. 1 plus 1 is 2 is coming here. Again 1, 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 1 is 3. Here 1, 1. Here 1 plus 3 is 4. 3 plus 3 is 6. 3 plus 1 is 4. Here 1, 1. Here 1 plus 4 is 5. 4 plus 6 is 10. 6 plus 4 is 10. 4 plus 1 is 5. And borders 1. And also you see here we are getting 5 leading spaces. Here we are getting 4 leading spaces. Here we are getting 3 leading spaces. Here we are getting 2 leading spaces, 1 leading space, 0 leading space. Okay. How to do that? Here we cannot write the logic in the same for loop. Again, we have to recreate the for loop, and by writing this extra thing, we can add the leading spaces here in the same. I'm not using println, I'm using print here. Here also I'm using print, and after every element I'm adding a space. And at the end of the for loop, I'm adding println before going to the new row. By writing this extra logic, the formatting can be done properly, guys. This kind of Pascal triangle, expected Pascal triangle will come. No matter how many rows you give 9 rows, a very big number will come. Big triangle will come, guys. You see 1 plus 7 is equal to 8, 7 plus 21 is equal to 28. You see, it's working fine. Okay. No matter how much big Pascal triangle you want, you can create. Okay. Up to your requirement. Okay. We can create. Guys, if you want to practice this program, you can take the screenshot of this code, guys. Okay. You can practice this program. So I'm just stopping for a while so that you can take a screenshot of this code so that you can practice this program and try to understand how to print the Pascal triangle by yourself. Okay. So hope, guys, you have taken the screenshot of this particular program. This is the program. And here I'll do one thing. I'll also provide the code here. May not look good, but that's okay. I'm just giving a version of code here. So it's kind of very lengthy. That's okay. I'll do one thing. I'll just try to make it big so that If any issues are there, they will go away. Yeah, this looks good for me now. This is a program, guys. Okay, you have taken the screenshot. Also, I'm providing as part of the notes. You can take it from anywhere. Fine. Okay, guys. So, hope guys, with practical demonstration and theoretical explanation of what Pascal triangle is, and with a detailed practical demonstration of this Pascal triangle, how to print a Pascal triangle program with including the formatting, the lead, adding the leading spaces, and all I covered in this session. So that's all for this session, guys. Hope you have understood the answer for this question, and you'll be able to answer the question in the interviews. So that's all for this session. See you in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, what are the differences between an interface and inheritance? Let me answer this question with theoretical and followed by practical demonstration. So, if you are working with Java, you would have heard the terms like interface and inheritance. Though here in is there, it doesn't mean they have to be exactly matchable or they can be comparable. They are very distinctive terms, guys. Okay, interface is something different and inheritance is something different. Here, while asking this question, interviewer is not expecting exactly from you to explain the difference between an interface and inheritance. Rather, the interviewer is trying to check your knowledge in Java, whether you know what is an interface and what is an inheritance, if you know or not. If you can explain what is an interface, what is an inheritance, then that's all, guys. Okay, you don't have to point out all the differences between interface and inheritance, in that manner, because it's kind of vague question where they don't have to be generally compared. You don't have to compare an interface and inheritance. But speaking wise, interface, inheritance, okay, in is coming. That's the reason they formed this kind of question, guys. But there are not that much differences between interface and inheritance. If you want to create, you can create the differences, but ultimately here the main point is the interviewer is trying to know how much you know about these concepts in Java. Okay, if you are able to explain the concepts, automatically we explain the differences also at later point of time. So let's get started, guys. Coming to the interface and inheritance, let me open this Paint software. And here in the Paint software, I'll write down interface this side, and other side I'll write down inheritance. Okay. So what is an interface? If you are able to explain, that's very good, guys. Okay. So what is an inheritance? If you explain, that is already good. Okay. You don't have to give the differences here initially. Start with explaining about interface followed by inheritance. That will be more than good. Okay. Interface is like a contract. Okay. You want to create a contract using which other classes can implement the methods. Okay. Interface is nothing but a contract, guys. Interface is nothing but a kind of contract where you just define the methods, but you won't implement them. You won't write the code inside the methods, but you just define the methods. Okay, but you won't implement the methods, the code inside the methods. So in Java programming, if you want to create a contract that other classes have to follow and implement, then in that case, you will just go and create something known as interface. How can you create an interface? There's a keyword in Java known as interface keyword, using which you can create an interface. For creating a class, we have the class keyword. For creating an interface, we have this kind of interface keyword. So interface followed by, you have to write like this, interface followed by interface name, whatever. For example, I'll give like bank as the name of the interface. Okay, like this, you have to create an interface, guys. Using the interface keyword, you have to give the name of the interface that you want to create. And inside this interface, okay, this interface will act like a contract, guys. Okay, a plan or something. Okay, a kind of contract otherwise, which only have the definitions. It will define. Okay, so for example, deposit money. If you say deposit money, okay, here the method will end like this with a semicolon. It will not have the method body, rather just definition will be there, guys. Okay, deposit money. whatever the modifier you want to give, public void deposit money, then public void. Only definitions are there here. You see, it's not implementing any code for this particular method. Rather, it is stating that this particular contract, okay, who are the classes who are going to implement this particular interface have to write the code for this particular defined methods, because interface is a contract that every other class which becomes a child class of this interface has to implement this particular methods. Okay, whatever the contract you sign, you have to follow that rules, right? Like that. Okay, it's a contract kind of stuff. Interface is nothing but a kind of contract where you just define the methods, but you won't implement the code inside the methods. Okay, you just define the methods, guys. That's it. Okay, withdraw money, like that bank will have a lot of stuff, guys, like transfer money, withdraw money, open account, close account, many other only definitions will be there. But here you will not write how to deposit the money, how to withdraw the money. Okay, it only is a contract, guys. It's only is a contract. This is a contract. If a particular class, okay, implements this particular bank interface, a contract. For example, there is a class like HDFC class, okay, which implements using the implements keyword. HDFC implements this bank interface. Let's say, okay, HDFC class implements this bank interface. Okay, this is called as inheritance now. In interface, we are using the inheritance concept. Okay, HDFC is a class which is implementing the bank interface. That means HDFC is a child class of the bank interface. So all the methods which are defined in the contract, that is a bank interface, has to be implemented here. Here, actual code need to be written. Code need to be written. Code need to be written for deposit money, withdraw money, transfer money, whatever the methods. Okay, code need to be written here. Okay, so interface will act like a contract. Okay, that its child classes. If you talk about the here HDFC is a child class of bank, the relation is nothing but the inheritance case. Okay, if there is some class which is implements the bank interface, which is a contract. Here HDFC bank is a child class of the bank interface. Here we have the inheritance concept coming in. They are somewhere connected, guys. Okay, but here at a high level, interface is all about an OOPS concept known as abstraction. Abstraction OOPS concept. That means you're only giving a contract, and the low level implementation of this particular methods will be done by its child classes. Okay, that is what is called as abstraction. When you see a car, guys, when you see a car, do you see the engine directly? No, you'll see the steering, you will see all the colors of the car, you will see the gear, you will see the gearbox, you will see the clutch, accelerator, brake, everything you will see. Seats you will see, tires you will see, everything, but you will not see the internal working of the engine. That internal complexity is hidden from you with the help of abstraction concept. That is possible with the help of interface. Okay, so here bank is like it's just defining the stuff, how a bank should work like. Okay, how exactly a bank should look like. A small definition is being given here as a contract. But the real banks like HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, SBI Bank, or any other bank have to implement the process. If someone has to deposit the money, what is the process in the HDFC Bank? If someone has to withdraw the money from ICICI Bank, how they have to go and withdraw the money? They have to go to the ATM of the bank, or they want to go inside the bank and give a check and then receive the withdrawal amount or whatever it is. Okay, that exact process, that implementation of the actual contract. Okay, whatever that is specified in the contract will be implemented by the individual bank classes, for example. Okay, so this is what is an interface, guys. It actually works toward the abstraction OOPS concept. There are many OOPS concepts. Abstraction is one of the OOPS concept where interface is all about. So whenever you are explaining about interface, explain about abstraction, where by defining the methods, by creating this kind of interface contract, okay, all the methods, all the child classes which are implementing this interface have to actually implement the real implementation of how the depositing of money should happen, how the withdrawing of the money should happen. But it's only contract or definition or defining the stuff, okay, in the interface. Okay, interface with the help of inheritance is able to achieve the implementation for these methods. Okay, this kind of explanation you should give, guys. If you don't know the knowledge of what is an interface, what is an inheritance, hundreds of questions will come like this, guys. If you're good with Java, you can answer any type of question just by giving the explanations. That's it. At a high level, if I have to compare the interface with inheritance, right? Here, inheritance is all about inheritance OOPS concept only. Inheritance is nothing but a OOPS concept. Okay, we are comparing the interface which is following the abstraction OOPS concept with the inheritance OOPS concept. Here, inheritance is all about OOPS concept where the child classes acquires the properties, that is methods and variables. Okay, properties means the variables and methods of, okay, properties means variables and methods. Child classes acquires the properties of parent classes or interfaces. Okay, or interface. Again, you see interfaces word came here. They are somewhere connected, guys. Child classes acquires the properties of parent classes or interfaces, guys. It's all about inheritance OOPS concept. This interface is about abstraction OOPS concept, hiding the details from the high level to the low level. Complexity will be taken down to the low levels. Okay, that is the abstraction OOPS concept that is possible with the help of interface. Whereas inheritance is all about making the child classes inheriting the properties from their parent classes or interfaces. That means your father may have a house. Okay, your father may have some, you will get you get your genes from your parents, you get your finances from your parents. Yeah, you get a lot of other things. Okay, the way you behave or the way you spend the money, the kind of behavior, psychological aspects or health aspects or financial aspects, most of the things they will come to you from your parents or grandparents. Okay, you came from. Okay, so that process is nothing but inheritance, guys. That is called as inheritance. While the property is inherited by your children or grandchildren, that is inheritance. Or whether your health is inherited. Okay, if your parents have some kind of problems, okay, you may also get some similar kind of problems according to the genetics and all those stuff. Okay, so this is called as inheritance, guys. But why we use inheritance in Java programming? There may be some situations where you may have multiple classes, guys. There may be multiple classes, even though the concept is like this. But ultimately, why we have to go for inheritance is, let's say there are multiple classes, they have the same variables. You created the same variables and same methods, same variable and same methods. Okay, same variables and same methods in all these multiple classes. Are you duplicating the variables and methods across multiple classes? Yes. In such kind of situations, when there are multiple classes having the same variables and methods created, what you can simply do is you create a parent class or interface and create that particular duplicated variable and method across all these classes. Okay, in this particular duplicate variables and methods, you move to the parent class and make this child classes of this particular parent class or interface. So what happens? I don't have to recreate this. I don't have to recreate these variables and methods here, because these child classes will inherit the properties from the parent class to reduce to achieve reusability in real time. Why we go for inheritance? Even though definition looks like child class acquires the properties of the parent class or interface, but why we go for inheritance? To achieve reusability. If you remove the duplication of the code and encourage reusability, where the same variables and methods are reused by all these classes instead of they creating again and again duplicate versions of them again and again in the multiple classes. That's why we have to go for reusability, guys. That's possible with the help of inheritance concept. Okay, so for a particular child class to inherit the properties of the parent class, if this is a child class and this is a parent class, then we have to use a keyword known as extends keyword. Whereas a particular class, if this is an interface, let's say if this is an interface, if a child class has to inherit the properties of the interface, in that case, we have to use implements keyword. And coming to the inheritance, multiple inheritance is possible if the parent is an interface, guys. Okay, that means this multiple classes. That means there can be multiple interfaces a child class can inherit from. A single child class can have multiple parent interfaces, but a single child class cannot have multiple parent classes. Okay, like that, many things are there, guys. If I keep on speaking, I can give a lot of answer for this question. So here again, again and again, I'm saying that here the interviewer is not exactly expecting you to give the difference between interface and inheritance. If you do so with your extreme knowledge, if you can do so that it is about abstraction, this is about inheritance, there is a line, interface is connected with inheritance and inheritance is connected with interface. If you can give that all this explanation, all the definitions of the interface, what is the purpose of the interface, what is the purpose of the inheritance, if you can give, that's all very good, guys. Okay, try your level best in explaining as much as possible. The question here is not about giving the differences. The thing here is not about giving the differences, rather how much knowledge you can prove that to the interviewer, how much knowledge you have on this interface and inheritance. if you can showcase to the interviewer, then you have achieved answering this particular question. Okay. So that is what is the difference between an interface and inheritance theoretically, guys. Okay. Practically, it will take a lot of time if I have to do, but I'll show you some sample examples of how to use, interfaces and inheritance concept. I told you, right, interfaces are all about the abstraction concept, hiding the complex details at the lower levels. Okay. So first of all, I'll create an interface, guys. Right click new in the Eclipse IDE, right click on the package, select new, and instead of selecting the class, you select an interface. An interface will be created. Give some name for the interface. Let's say bank interface only I'll create. Click on finish. So in this bank interface, all the methods in the interface are by default abstract type. Okay. All the methods that you create inside the bank interface are actually aimed for abstract type case. Okay. By default, general methods that you create inside the bank interface are abstract type. That is, if you try to create the body for the methods, general methods I'm talking about, there are some special methods like private, default, and static kind of methods which can have the body still. But here I'm talking about the normal methods. If you're trying to create a normal method like deposit money, public void deposit money, and try to create the body for that, you will immediately get an error saying that this particular method is an abstract method. Abstract methods do not. That means by default, even though you don't specify any abstract modifier here, by default, the methods inside the interface are by default abstract type, and we should not be able to specify the body. So no matter how many methods you create here, if they are not private methods, if they are not static methods, if they are not default methods, they have to be abstract methods only. Okay, you can create any number of. Here you see interface you are creating with an intention of creating a contract, guys. You are just defining the stuff, but you are not implementing how to deposit, how to withdraw the money, etc. Okay, and for example, I'm taking only these two methods. And what about the variables inside the interface, guys? If you talk about the variables inside the interface, variables inside the interface are by default static and final type. They belong to the interface memory, and also they are final type. You have to initialize the value to the variables here itself when you declare, and also those values, initialized values, cannot be updatable. They're constant, simple words. Okay. So here I'll write string. Here I'll write account type 1 is equal to. If I write something like this, you see already error is saying that you have to initialize it. It's because it's static and final by default. If it is final, right, you have to initialize it here. Otherwise, it will, it will give you the error. And you cannot update this value, guys, because it's of static and final by default. You cannot update the value of this particular initialized value of this particular variable. You can create any number of variables, guys. Another variable I'll create account. They act like constants, guys, and they belong to the interface memory. So whenever you want to access these variables of the interface, you have to use the name of the interface to access, because they are of static type also. Okay, not only final type, they are also static type also. So variables by default, the variables inside the interface are static and final by default, and the methods by default, normal general methods apart from the private, static, and default methods, they are abstract methods by default. Only definition will be there for the methods. Okay. So who has to implement this particular method? The child classes of the interface have to implement this, act like a contract, and who has to implement the methods? For example, if I create a method like class, who has to implement this particular method? If I create a class like HDFC Bank, okay, and if I have to make this HDFC Bank a child class of this bank interface, I have to use a keyword known as implements keyword, implements bank, I would say. Now error is coming because all the unimplemented methods, all the abstract methods from the parent interface need to be implemented by the HDFC Bank. Over the mouse, add unimplemented methods. Both the methods like deposit money will come with a body. Okay. Here you can write implement money deposited in HDFC Bank. Here you can write system.out.println money withdrawn from HDFC Bank. Like that, you can have any number of abstract methods, all the abstract methods that are there in the parent interface. And for this parent interface, if you create a child class, that child class has to implement all the actual implementation is not there in the interface, guys. Actual implementation is done by the child classes. Okay. If you want to make a particular class, a child class of the bank interface or any other interface, you have to use implements keyword again. Here to create the interface, we are using interface keyword. To make a class, a child of the parent interface, you have to use implements keyword. Some keywords you have to remember, guys. Okay. Now, is the HDFC Bank only the class that has to implement the interface? No, guys. There can be any number of classes. You can create ICICI Bank. You can create SBI Bank class. ICICI Bank implements bank class. SBI Bank implements bank. Like that, multiple classes can use the same contract and implement their give their own implementation or their own version of implementation for this particular methods according to their own bank's rules and policies, for example, as per this example. Okay, hope you got some idea about the interface. Now let me talk about the inheritance. In inheritance, guys, for example, I create a class, let's say animal class. I'll create animal class, click on finish. In what generally the animal will contain. Okay, so if you want to create multiple classes like class, let's say dog, class dog, and what is a dog here? If you write string animal type is equal to string animal type you're creating, and you know what are the properties generally. Okay, int eyes count, how many eyes are there for this animal, int legs count. Okay, like that, multiple variables you are creating, guys. Again, you can create some method also, public void eat method. You can write system.out.println dog is eating, and here you will write public void. Otherwise, simply write eating, guys. Okay, otherwise you'll get confused. Okay, public void sleep. If you write sleep, system.out.println, just print out sleeping. Now, if you create one more class, guys, if you create one more class, let's say if you create one more class, that is class cat. If I create, again, I'll create the same variables and methods. Okay, for cat also the same variables and methods I'll duplicate. Now, assume that similar to dog, similar to cat, there's one more thing like butterfly, there's something like rabbit, okay, there's something like goat, okay, there is something like hen, buffalo, cow, okay, tiger, lion, giraffe. Many things are there. For every animal, if you are creating the class and the same variables and methods you are duplicating here, that's not a good process, guys. Rather, what you can do is you can create a parent class like this public class animal, okay, and take all these variables and methods to that particular class, and for remaining things you can make this dog extends animal. You don't have to write the variables, same variables and methods again. Here also you can remove the duplicates by making this cat also extends animal. Okay, like this, guys, like this you can write. So this is what is the advantage of the inheritance, guys, to remove the reusability, to remove the duplication of the code and to encourage the reusability. We create the inheritance concept. So a single class can only become a child class of only one class, guys. It cannot become a child class of multiple classes, but it's an interface, but a class can become a child class of multiple interfaces. Okay, so a lot of knowledge is there here. You see, a single class have a single parent class. A single class can have single parent class, but if this particular class want to become a child of multiple parents, then that parent should be interfaces only. In case of multiple means here animal comma some other thing. For example, animal comma some other thing is there. Multiple interfaces, the inheritance is possible for the classes. A class can inherit multiple interfaces, but a class cannot inherit multiple classes. Only single class can be a parent of a child class, but but multiple parent interfaces can be the parent of the single child class. Okay, so like that, lot of things are there, guys. If you want to dig deep, right, to understand the differences between interface and inheritance, they are both connected at some point of time, and explain the concepts, explain which object oriented concepts they belong to and they support, and how they are connected, what are all the things, what are all the knowledge that you have on the interface, you explain whatever the knowledge you have about the interface. Inheritance you explain in your own way. What is the purpose of the interface, you can explain. What is the purpose of the inheritance, you can explain. Why we have to go for interface, why we have to go with inheritance. In inheritance, what is the role of the interface? In inheritance, what is the role of the class? Is multiple inheritance possible for interfaces? Is multiple inheritance possible for the classes? Lot of things will keep coming, guys. Okay, whatever that you have, you just keep explaining to the interviewer, so that finally the interviewer will understand that okay, these guys know about this guy knows about this interface and inheritance, and will be okay with your knowledge. Okay, so that's what is the answer for this question, guys. With theoretical explanation and practical demonstration, I've answered this question for you just to have a small final roundup. You see, interface purpose. An interface is like a contract. It tells a class what methods it must have, but not how to do them. Okay, okay, it will definition will not be there, but implementation. Okay, what a class child class should have, should and must have, it will But how to do them have to be decided by the child classes only. Okay, if the HDFC Bank is there, how to deposit the money, it will not tell. The parent class will not tell. Okay, parent interface will not tell. Parent interface only will define you have to deposit the money, you have to withdraw the money, but it will not tell how to deposit the money, how to withdraw the money. It will not tell. That's kind of, it acts like contract only, a kind of design or template or definition or something that the child classes have to follow and implement, have their own implementation. Every child class, HDFC Bank way of depositing the money will be different from the ICICI way of depositing the money. You can see that, right? That kind of contract can be created, but how to implement will not be given by the interface. The child classes have to follow their own process and rules. According to their rules and processes, they have to implement the abstract methods that are inherited from the interface. Okay, their parent interface. The concept interface is all about OOPS concept known as abstraction, where complex things will be hidden from the visibility. So if you see a car, I told you, right, the complex thing is like engine, clutches, how the clutch will work inside, how the engine will work, okay, how the AC cooling system internally will work. Everything will not be visible to you, but ultimately you can see only the dashboard of the car, you can see the color of the car, the lighting of the car, and the tires and steering and all the other stuff, seats and all the stuff. But ultimately internal working is hidden from you. That is called as abstraction. And interface, if you want to create an interface, right, you have to use interface keyword followed by the interface name, like the interface bank. Okay, let's say methods in interface are abstract by default. Apart from that, there are other methods in the interface. Starting from Java 8 onwards, they got introduced. Okay, starting from Java 8, after from Java 8 onwards, they got introduced, like default methods inside the interface. They can have the method body. Private methods inside the interface can have the method body having some code implementation, and this static methods can have the method body. So there's a purpose why they came up, and we don't have to explain as part of this question anyhow. So variables inside the interface are static and final by default, whose they belong to the interface memory, and also they to access them you have to use the interface name. At same time, the value need to be initialized in the same line. You have declared the variables because they are final type, and also the value that is initialized cannot be updatable. Okay, there are no instance variables inside an interface, guys. You cannot create instance variable, but in inheritance you can inherit the instance variables. Okay, small differences I'm picking up here. Inheritance is all about the inheritance OOPS concept, where your child classes are inheriting the properties from the parent classes or interfaces also. Okay, a single class can inherit the properties from multiple inheritance, but a single child class cannot inherit the properties from multiple classes. Only one parent class can be there, but multiple parent interfaces can be there. Okay, and the purpose of the inheritance is about reusability. To reduce the duplication of the code across multiple child classes, a single parent class will be created, and all these child classes will inherit the properties from the single class. That's where reusability will come into picture. We have to either use extends keyword if you want to make a particular class a child class of the parent class. Okay, or you have to use implements keyword if you want to make a particular class a child class of the parent interface. Okay, a class can implement multiple interfaces, but a class can only inherit one super class, one parent class only, but multiple interfaces can be inherited. So all this is just a wind up kind of thing. As a conclusion, I'm reading all this stuff, guys. Okay, if you're able to answer all these things as part of the question for this interview, you get this question in the interview, then you are good to go, guys. You don't have to worry much. Okay, whatever I explained in this as an answer for this question in this video, you are able to explain to the interviewer. You are good enough. Okay, you are good enough, guys. Okay, fine. So that's all for this session, guys. Hope you got the answer for this question. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello all. Welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, if an exception occurs, will finally block will be executed or not executed? Let me answer this question with theoretical answer and practical demonstration followed by. Okay, first of all, whether an exception occurs or not, the finally block will be executed. Okay, if you are using finally block at the end of try catch block, whether the exception occurs in the try block or whether the exception doesn't occur in the try block, the finally block will be executed. Whether the try block gets executed because of no exception coming, or whether the catch block also gets executed, if an exception comes, still the finally block will be executed. No matter what the exception occurs in the try block or no matter whether the catch block gets executed or not because of an exception, the finally block will be executed no matter what. What is the purpose of what is the main purpose of the finally block? You see, when you're writing some code, there will be some objects, okay, where we have to close the objects, guys, okay, so that memory leak won't happen. There will be some objects that you created for some classes, okay. There will be some object references that you create for some classes, and you'll be observing some warning message given by Eclipse IDE kind of editor saying that this particular object need to be closed once the task is done on the object reference, okay. Once you have utilized the object, you have to close the object. Otherwise, memory leak will happen. We should not wait until the garbage collector mechanism will come and clean the non-closed object. Rather, you close the object as a best practice so that garbage collector will become even more smarter and can clean that particular memory leak happening object in a faster way. Okay. There are a lot of concepts revolving around this, garbage collector mechanism, memory management, and all. We are not going there. But I'm going to tell you, in generally, we close the object case, okay? But what if this particular code that you have written, where you have created the object is inside a try block, and suddenly an exception occurs, and you have written the code for closing the object in the same try block. Because of the exception coming before, the program execution will halt and it will switch to the catch block or something, and the object closing will not happen and memory leak will continue. In such kind of situation, the best practice is that instead of closing the object either in the try block or catch block, try to close in the finally block. No matter what, whether the exception comes or not, the object that is created for a particular class, which results in a memory leak later point of time, will be closed no matter what. That's what is the purpose of the finally block is. You may get different type of questions in the interviews. You may not get the exact question like this. If an exception occurs, will finally block will be executed or not? You may not get like that. What is the purpose of the finally block? They'll ask you in the interviews. Now, theoretically, I explained to you guys, the finally block will be executed irrespective of whether an exception occurs or not, irrespective of whether a try block will be executed or catch block will get executed. But at any cost, the finally block will be executed after the try or catch blocks. If a particular object is, due to some XYZ reasons, is not closed in the try block or something, then it will be closed in the finally block, whether the exception comes or not. Okay, it will not get disturbed, it will be closed. So let me, demonstrate this practically so that you'll understand, what is the purpose of the finally block in exception handling mechanism when you use try catch block and in the terms of closing the object. Okay. So for that, I'll switch to the Eclipse IDE, guys. In the Eclipse IDE, I'm going to create a new class. Guys. I'll just right click here and select a new class. I'll just name this class as finally demo. Okay, just give some random name. That's okay. I'm just giving finally demo. Click on main method. Inside the main method, I'm going to create an object for one of the class. That particular object need to be closed once the task is done. For example, here, I'll do something like this. Let's say scanner is equal to, you can take anything. Scanner is one example I have come across. Scanner is called scanner, new scanner. Using this scanner class, we can collect the input from the user. Import this scanner class from java.util package, and here provide system.in to collect the input from the user. Okay. And after that, use this object reference. You see already warning message is coming for this scanner object reference saying that the value of the local variable scanner is not closed. Better you close it. Okay, better you close it. Or if this is not the case, guys, this is not the memory leak kind of case, I'll just go with something like file input stream, where you'll get that kind of stuff. File input stream FIS is equal to new file input stream. Okay, file input stream FIS is equal to new file input stream. You can either go with scanner class also, that's okay. But a better example will be file input stream. Import this file input stream from java.io package. Here, this constructor cannot be empty. We have to provide the path of the file. You can directly write new file of, give the path of the file that you want to represent or read the data from. Using the file input stream, using the object reference and its predefined method of the file input stream, we can read the text provided in this particular file. So here we have a lot of files. I'll go with arun.txt file here, arun.txt file, okay, which is directly available in that project. I'll import this file from java. Okay, if you are not getting a proper import statement, say Ctrl+Shift+O, it will be imported, guys. You will get this java.io file. Select that. Now you got a kind of, it's the compiler is saying that you have to handle this exception possibility. There is a file not found exception if this particular file is not available at the given path. So it's better that you provide try catch block here. Okay, surround this with the try block. Okay, to overcome that error, you just surround this with try block. In real time, use try catch block. And here, file not found exception, right? File not found. There's a possibility of file not found exception E. And here, write down system.out.println, print out the details of the exception by using the object reference C. Hover the mouse on the file not found and import from java.io package. This is how we implement the try catch block. Now I would like to do something here. FIS dot read method. I'll call the read method, guys, and this will again, there is a possibility of an exception here, IO exception. I'll just convert this into IO exception. The parent exception is IO exception. So import this IO exceptions from java.io package. You see, now this read method is returning you some value. Int n is equal to some print it out, system.out.println char of n, I will say. Okay, here n you have to provide, you have to print n, and you have to typecast that into cat data type. I'm just writing some code, guys. I'm just typecasting it. Otherwise, you will get the ASCII number printed here. You have to convert it into the proper character number associated with the ASCII number that is being written by the read method. Okay, I have performed some operation on this FIS that using this object reference, I have performed this operations. Okay, so over the mouse on the FIS, it's saying that resource leak may happen. FIS is never closed. So I will close this FIS here. For example, I'll close this FIS.close. I will say that's good. Where is this particular FIS.close available in the try block? What if an exception occurs here? Now at this time, nothing will happen. You see, if I run this code, right? If I run this code, just see that the close will happen here. Close will happen and no exception. You see, M got printed and it didn't went to the catch block. That means exception has not come. In case of exception has not come, what happened? In case of exception has not come, that means the path of this particular file is right, and the things are went well, and because of which the FIS object has been closed. Okay, the FIS object has been closed. We are lucky enough. But what if I give XYZ here? Is there any file with the name Arun XYZ here? No. In this case, this particular file doesn't exist at the given path. In this case, what will happen? This particular line will throw an exception known as file not found exception. And because of the exception thrown at the try block at this particular line 13, the control will go from the line 13 to the catch block here, which is line 17, and it will print the details of the exception. But yeah, we have handled the exception. We have handled the exception. All that is good. We have handled the exception. The exception details will be printed and all. But do you think that this particular object that you created for the file input stream is closed or not? I don't think it is closed, guys. Okay, right click run as Java application and observe that exception has come, because of which the object will not be closed, guys. It looks like because the control will come from this line to this line. So the possibility of the object getting closed is not going to happen. This particular lines will be skipped from execution because the control, once the exception comes at this particular line, control will go to this line. So to overcome this problem, I'll write the finally block, guys. In the finally block, I'll close this. Okay, in finally block, I'll close this. No matter an exception comes here or not, the finally block will be executed. I'll make this global so that this FIS can be accessible. FIS is equal to null, and here I'll remove the double declaration here, and just see that what will happen this time. If an exception occurs here, still the execution will go to the finally block, and finally block will be finally block will close the object reference object of memory leak thing that is happening with this object of the file input stream. Okay, here already some other thing is coming again surround with try catch block. This is what we have to do, guys. IO exception or something. Okay, that's it. Either FIS.close will happen or IO exception will happen, whatever that is. Okay, so run this code and see what is happening. Right click run as Java application. This is how we have to write the code, guys. There are two types of exceptions coming. Null pointer exception is also coming. So what we'll do is here we'll write the code, guys. Here in the try block, we'll write if FIS is not equal to null, then only you try to close. Otherwise, you don't try to close. That way we can improvise the program, run as Java application. This time will not get the exception. Only this exception will come. First exception, file not found exception will come. And if the FIS is not null, it will not close. Okay, it's not created, so it's not a problem, guys. Okay. So sometimes what happens is the file path is correct, but in FIS.read or whatever it is not wrong. It's not right. Okay, there's no particular text in whatever that is. Okay, because of we are getting some another exception or whatever it is. So here the simple concept of about the finally block is that whether the exception comes or not, the finally block will try to close this particular object, guys. Okay, no matter what, the object will be tried to be closed. For example, here there is no problem. There is no problem. Assume that there is no problem here. For example, there is no problem here. So here I'll say int a is equal to 10 divided by 0. Int a is equal to 10 divided by 0. Now this is correct only. This will not give any exception. But there is situation where this will result in an exception, right? This will result in an exception, and the exception will come here. You see, after the object has been created, after the object has been created for the file input stream, then the exception will come at the 16th line. Because of this exception, the control will go here. I'll write exception here. Otherwise, okay, the exception will be handled. But since the object has already been created for the file input stream, the control, here, because of the next line exception, FIS.close will not happen here. If you write FIS.close, it will not happen here, guys. The code will not be reachable here. FIS.close will not happen here. To overcome this kind of situations, we have to write the finally block. If FIS is not equal to null, then only close it. Okay. Otherwise, don't close. So this particular arithmetic exception will come here, and because of which the object created will do memory leak. The memory leak should be closed. In order to avoid the memory leak, we have to close the FIS.close. That should happen in the finally block. And here in this example, this is a perfect example, guys. Whether the exception comes or not, we'll go to the finally block and we'll close the object of this FIS. Okay. Now run the code, right click run as Java application, and observe that what is happening. You see, arithmetic exception came, but still it has closed the. Let's find it out whether it has closed or not. Okay. Here I'll give a print statement saying if you are going to the if block means FIS has been closed. Okay. FIS object is closed. Okay, I'll just print it out so that we can know what is happening. If the arithmetic exception comes, irrespective of the exception comes or not, FIS object is getting closed. Okay, that's the reason, guys, we have to use the finally block. So this is a perfect example, guys. This is one of the perfect example to write. When someone asks you to show you one particular example where you use finally block, you can take this example, guys. You may get questions in a different way. What is the purpose of the finally block? What will happen if an exception occurs or what will happen if an exception occurs? Will the finally block will be executed or not? What is the purpose of the finally block? A lot of things will be coming for you. A lot of questions will be coming for you. So if you know the knowledge, if you have the knowledge of this finally block, why you are writing that, irrespective of whether the try block gets executed or exception comes and a catch block gets executed, irrespective of that, finally block will be executed. Okay, whether you control is from the try block will come to the finally block. If the control go to the catch block also, it will come to the final block. And the purpose is to close the objects, which will result in memory leak. Okay, in this case, because of the arithmetic exception, already the object is created for the file input stream, but because of the arithmetic exception here, the control came to the catch block, and in the finally block will be executed no matter what, and to close the object. Okay, so memory leak will not happen in rare cases, in bad cases. So guys, if you want to practice this program, you can take a screenshot of this. So I'll just wait for you to take the screenshot. You just practice this program and try to understand the concept in a more better way. Hope guys you have taken the screenshot for this code. So with practical demonstration and theoretical explanation, I have explained you the answer for this particular question. You may not exactly get the same answer in the interviews as I told you again and again. You may get in different ways. Okay, but this knowledge will help you in answering all the different type of questions surrounding the finally block. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye.